Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And alhamdulillah lillahi wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Today's topic is going to be reverts and harshness and extremism. I know that a lot of secular and non-Muslim and anti-Muslim media puts a large amount of focus on if something is extreme, Muslim extremism, and things like this. And so I kind of want to address, what is extremism and how it takes place in our community, and how it is hindering our reverts and potential reverts out there. So, right now in the UK, that is where a large amount of Islamic extremists, so-called Islamic extremists, gain a lot of their support. An inordinate amount of people in Syria fighting for ISIS right now are young people from the UK who decided that they were going to go and undertake lesser jihad in Syria, or I know some in Somalia and some other places. And what we need to discuss is why this is happening. You see all over in the media, people are like, how were they radicalized? And that only ever gets asked for people who claim to be Muslim that are doing these acts, these violent acts out there. And what we need to understand is, it's not all Muslim people. It's, this kind of extremism happens across all different religions. It happens across all different backgrounds. So what you'll see kids who grow up in an area that isn't very well off, low socioeconomic status. Maybe they come from a broken home. Maybe they were abused growing up. And so they go and they seek out people to consider family. So, in the US and in a large part of Europe, before, Islamophobia really spread, you saw a lot of people, a lot of young people joining gangs, because they had structure and they had people who claimed to care about them. And these were things that these children weren't getting at home. And so they felt like this gang, these people who, were criminals, they were a better family than the family they had at home. And so now what's taking place is these children that, could have been seduced by gangs where they live. Now they're struggling to find, who they are, and they're struggling to find a belief system and someone to watch over them. And, mashallah, they find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they find Islam. But then the extremists that are based in the Western world take advantage of this period of time when a revert doesn't know much about the religion. And so they grasp onto these people who are uniquely vulnerable, and teach them extreme or even incorrect understandings of the Quran and what the Quran says, what is and is not jihad, and things like this. And a lot of people, a lot of the people who are extremists, who don't think that they really are extreme, or they think they're extreme and they're proud of it. And they say, well, this is what it says in the Quran, this is what it says in the Sunnah, but that isn't always necessarily true. Let me see. So it says, in Sahih Bukhari, so this is a Sahih Hadith, it says, the Prophet said, religion is very easy. Whoever overburdens himself in his religion will not be able to continue in that way. So you should not be extremists, but try to be near to perfection and receive the good tidings that you will be rewarded and gain strength by worshiping in the mornings and the nights. So here it's saying you need to be easy on yourself. The Quran was sent down as a mercy. Islam was sent down as a mercy. And a lot of laws that were in place before Islam were changed in the Quran to make life easier on us. So, instead, because, example. Originally, the Prophet ﷺ was asked for us to pray 50 times a day. But he pled with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and got it down to 5 times a day. So he made it easy on us. If we are sick or if we are injured, we're not required to pray while standing if it's going to hinder our health. Women who are menstruating are not supposed to pray and not supposed to make it up because it's not our fault that we're bleeding and in pain. Just there's so many things that have been made so much easier for us and made clear within the Quran. And almost always there is a thing where it's like, you can do this, but it's better if you do this easier option. There's also hadith that say that the Prophet ﷺ, if he was given a choice between 2 things, he would take the easier one, so long as it wasn't haram. He encouraged his followers not to ask clarification questions on things, because then that would put further limits on them, because whatever he would say would further limit what we were allowed to do. Things like this. So, when people make the Deen hard, when they go out of their way to search for faults and things, when they go out of their way to declare different kinds of food haram, and things like this, which don't necessarily need to be declared that way. They're just making it harder on themselves and harder on other people. So I have another quote. This one's not a hadith, but it's from Sheikh Ahmed Didat. And it says, the biggest enemy of Islam is the ignorant Muslim, whose ignorance leads him to intolerance, whose actions destroy the true image of Islam, and when the people look at him, they think that Islam is what he is. So this is really a big thing that's going on right now. I've talked before, about how I get attacked on social media, and I've seen other sisters get attacked on social media, and it's all because, you aren't wearing correct hijab, you shouldn't be posting pictures, you need to eat halal meat when it's difficult for you to find halal meat. Attacking new Muslims for things that they're still learning about, for things that, they're struggling with and trying to get there. And so instead of being kind to them and messaging them privately and giving private nasiha, they post on their pictures with derogatory comments, insulting them, cussing at them, and they continue to do so. And it's really sad, because this is exactly what that sheikh was talking about, is that people are ignorant of the situation the other person is in, and they're ignorant of the knowledge that's actually contained within the Quran, and they misinterpret it, and they take it to its extremes. And because of this, then people have a bad opinion of Islam. They think all Muslims are harsh, or they don't smile, or they're all terrorists, or whatever. And then they also push away possible reverts to Islam. And astaghfirullah, that just should not be happening. It's a really, really sad place when, you have people who want to be on the straight path, but they're being blocked from that path by people who say they're already on it. Sorry, I pulled up a lot of quotes for this one. So Dr. Bilal Phillips, which I know that some of the things that he says are controversial, and some are extremist views, which I can say because I'm currently attending his university. But a lot of the time he also has really good, solid things to say, and this is one of them. He says, show respect to people who don't deserve it, even to people who don't deserve it, not as a reflection of their character, but as a reflection of yours. So even if you think that this person is doing wrong, be kind to them, this is again in Sahih Bukhari. It says, the Muslim is the one from whose tongue and hand the Muslims are safe. That means you shouldn't abuse your Muslim brother, your Muslim sister, physically or with words. You should instead be trying to help them. And so if you aren't being respectful, if you aren't being kind, if you're abusing them, then you aren't fulfilling these things that it's necessary for you to fulfill as a Muslim, for your brothers and sisters' rights upon you. Everybody has a right to be respected and be treated with respect. And so we should all strive to treat each other with respect. Whenever I get, negative comments and things like that, I try my best to respond calmly or just not respond at all. And I encourage my followers to do the same thing. Because all we can do really is to pray for people if they have this kind of negativity and hatred in their heart. So, all we can do is make dua. And honestly, I think that's the best thing that we can do. And that can be really difficult for new Muslims, and they're getting attacked online by people who are telling them they're doing everything wrong. And then they just want to, leave the Deen, which, astaghfirullah, that would be horrible. They found al-haq and then they get pushed away. So hopefully, this video, yes, I'm being very truthful about what is out there and what kind of extremism and harshness that we can run into as reverts. But inshallah, this video will also bring that to the awareness of the Ummah, and maybe we can strive to remove that kind of harshness towards reverts. But also, and probably maybe even more importantly, it gives these reverts who are being harassed and being attacked, inshallah, gives them the skills and the means to protect themselves and to respond in an Islamic manner. Let me see here. I have another hadith that says, none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. And so that's what I say, to the people who are being harassers and attacking these new Muslims who are still learning. Would you want someone to yell at you because you didn't understand something? Would you want someone to be harsh with you about it? Or would you want them to be kind? I don't think anybody wants someone to be rude or be mean to them. That just doesn't make any sense. Why would you want someone to say bad things to you or say bad things about you? And so in Tirmidhi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Hurairah said, it was said, O Messenger of Allah, what is backbiting? He said, mentioning your brother with that which he does not like. And he said, what if what I said about him is so? He said, if what you said about him is so, then you've backbitten him. And if it's not as you said, then you've slandered him. So, we all know the hadith about backbiting, or sorry, not hadith, I'm pretty sure it's an ayat in the Quran, which says something along the lines of, would you like to eat the flesh of your brother's back? And so it's, comparing backbiting, which is talking badly about someone, whether it's true or not, with cannibalism, basically. This is something that's not only bad for them and hurts them physically, but it's something which is bad for you and bad for your soul. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't correct people, we shouldn't warn people if there are specific people out there who are harming others. But we should strive in our everyday to, be kind to people, to not talk bad about them or talk bad to them, and to try and give them the benefit of the doubt on things. If you go around always thinking that someone is doing something out of some sort of negative emotion, then you're going to be angry all the time. But if you give them the benefit of the doubt and you say, okay, well, maybe they're just having a bad day. Or, you see someone speeding down the street in their car and you think maybe there's an emergency. Instead of thinking bad things about them, doing these kind of daily practices can really help you to find peace and sabr in your life. And so these practices, as you put them into daily practice in small amounts, you can also put them in practice in bigger things. But as you put them in with smaller amounts, it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes the norm. And so then you just all over a more peaceful person, a more civil person, which I believe is what Islam is calling us to be. I'm sorry, just a moment. Okay, it says, this is just a cute little quote. I don't think it is from, anyone in particular. You can see, it's got a little heart on it. Being a Muslim is about being different. When someone hates you, love them. When someone curses you, bless them. Be different. And I've also seen, if somebody is, if someone speaks bad to you, here we go. It's a dua that someone wrote. It said, Ya Rab, Ya Kareem, whoever wishes good on me in the secrecy of the night or in the openness of the daylight, grant them double what they've wished for me. And whoever wishes harm for me, pardon them and stretch distance and forgiveness between us. So, we should strive to forgive the people who harm us because we don't know their, why it happened. And also just because if we make dua for them, then, Allah is the turner of hearts. If someone's heart is closed off because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has closed it off, then nobody can open that heart. But only Al-Fatah can open that heart. The only way that he's going to know that somebody wants that to happen is for us to make dua. So, we should try to pray for people and say, Ya Allah, open up this person's heart. Help them to see the error of their ways. Heal their heart from their harshness and from their anger. Inshallah, we should be making dua like this for people who are harming us. That's not to say that you forgive and you forget everything. If someone is constantly over and over hurting you, that doesn't mean that you keep putting yourself in a position where they can hurt you more. It just means that, it means that you try to love them and help them despite their harshness against you, because they are your brother and sister in Islam. And inshallah, these things will help our heart and they help other people's hearts, because then they can look at you and they can see you as this, this shining example, and go, subhanallah, this is a revert and their iman is so much better than mine. Why is that? They have so much more sabr than me. Why is that? They have so much more salam in their heart. Why is that? Inshallah, that when you start focusing only on the reactions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to what you do, rather than the harshness that you get from other people, then you start feeling better by yourself and you don't worry so much about the harshness of other people. So I wanted to touch on a few other things, other than just the harshness. And, it's one of the things I really want to touch on is extremism, because, like I said, what we're getting is a lot of people who are uniquely vulnerable, and then they get dragged into extremist groups because they don't have anywhere else to turn to from what they can see. And so a lot of this is done, a lot of the people who are harsher on social media, unfortunately, they claim to be a Salafiyah, and that gives a bad name to, I know Salafi women who are absolutely wonderful, who know that, we shouldn't be harsh, we shouldn't treat people with disrespect because they believe differently than we believe, or they look they dress, against a certain way or whatever. But so there are all these people who really are following, like extremist beliefs, Wahhabi beliefs, and things like this. And, on social media, they attack people, but then at the same time, in real life, they are the ones that are perpetuating dawah. In the UK, where I said, like, this kind of thing is rampant, and there are documentaries on Netflix that you can look at to see what I'm talking about. But, they go out in droves. I don't know if that's the right word, but they grow up in large groups. And they hand out pamphlets about what is Islam. and they invite people to, to come and listen to their halakas and things like this. But the more moderate Muslims aren't doing that because they have, they're working on other things. They are, helping their own flock, whatever, But so unfortunately, it's always the same, no matter where you are, that, the most extreme and smaller groups are the ones which are the loudest. And so people then say, oh, all Muslims must think this way because the loudest groups are the ones that are perpetuating this harshness and extremism. And there have been scholars that speak out about this. There have been multiple fatwa about saying that extremism is not part of Islam. Terrorism is not of Islam. The Quran says that if you take one life, it's like killing the entire world. But the people who don't like Islam aren't going to listen to those. They don't want to see those. So what we have to do is we have to try and change the ummah and really discourage these people who are of harshness and extremism from being as loud and vocal as they are, because they don't represent us. So I have a quote from Mufti Menk. He has a lot of really good quotes, and his Twitter is amazing. It's the best. I love all of his quotes that he puts out. But he says, when you see a female dressed in a manner that is unacceptable Islamically, do not for a moment think that she's lower than you spiritually. If you do that, then you are lower than her. Believe me, that is the teaching of your religion. She might have a link with her creator that you do not know about. She might have a heart that is tons better than yours. She might have one weakness that is outward, but you have 50 weaknesses that are hidden. And subhanAllah, like, this is exactly what I talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking about hijab and women, and what is hijab, and how do you, treat people that you see aren't dressed Islamically. And he's saying, you don't know what's going on in her head. You don't know what's going on in her heart. You don't know about her relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't know unless you ask her. And if you're going to ask, you need to be open and receptive to what she says, not just shut her down. Okay? Because that's why people leave Islam. I've heard of too many people say they want to leave Islam, or such and such left Islam because, people were being rude, or they were saying that the moderate path was incorrect, was haram, and we should be kind towards other people. A lot of the more extremist path is very much a letter of the law, not a spirit of the law, understanding of things. And that means that they see that they think most of the ummah are actually at fault, or are disbelievers, astaghfirullah. And so instead of dealing with them kindly, they deal with them with harshness, as we've already discussed. And so I want to end on a ayah of the Quran. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying Islam and the Quran are. This cannot be disputed, and so the translation, it's of surah, it doesn't say which surah it is, but it says 17 ayat 81 or 82. But it says, and we send down of the Quran that which is healing and a mercy to those who believe. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the Quran and Islam are a mercy on the believers. They're not meant as a harshness. They aren't meant as a difficulty, as as making what you believe harder. He's not trying to make things harder for us. He's trying to make it easy for us. And he wants us to come back to him. And so we should not hinder anyone from coming back to Allah by being harsh and being extremist. So inshallah that helps some people today. I'm sorry that the video didn't get put out yesterday as it was supposed to. I forgot that I had an event thing with my sister-in-law. So alhamdulillah, I got it done today. And next week, we're going to finish up the segment on reverts in Islam by talking about fetishism and racism within the Ummah. Please, you guys, let me know if there is anything that you want to see, if there's any topics you want me to talk about specifically. Just comment below. I've had some really good questions lately. Please, you guys, absolutely, if you have any questions or you need clarification on anything, just let me know. Inshallah, I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Okay. So, in closing, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Assalamu alaikum everybody, and jazakumullah khairan for watching.